Hello, welcome to More Yoga with me, Emily. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you are doing well and up for some yoga, which would be weird if you weren't. Oh man, a year or more of doing these videos, I feel like I'm starting to lose it a little bit. It's weird, right? I record these and I send them out into the void of the internet and I don't get much feedback, and that's okay. But it's so different from teaching in person. So I can't wait till I can be back actually teaching in person humans. Maybe we'll do some sort of mixed class of like live and video. We'll see. We'll see. Anyway, I thought what we would get into today is lunges, but changing them up a bit. Right? Usually with lunge, we've got 1 foot forward, 1 foot back, hip square, um, front knee bent, back knee could be up or down. Maybe you count warrior two as a lunge, so the back, well, you get some interesting hip action there. But we'll play around a little bit with lots of different kinds of lunges. So you're going to end up using a lot of stability and glute work on that, whatever leg, well, the front leg. So both legs, because we're going to do both sides. Um, so maybe eventually I will do a class where we will release the glutes a little bit. I don't know. Sounds good. Hopefully. Let's start lying down. If you have any props that you want to use to prop yourself up while you're lying down, then go ahead and grab them. I don't know why I always set my props up there and then I always have to move them. Again, you'd think that after a year of doing this that I would know how I like setting things up. You could be flat on your back, your legs could be bent or straight. You might need to take a little wiggle or just figure out, excuse me, where the best place is for your body today. Maybe depending on how your day has been, you feel like you need to take a little bit of extra time to settle. Maybe you feel like you're ready to just be still. And then for 3 breaths, inhale through your nose. Exhale, sigh your breath away. Couple more. Continue breathing however you need to. It could be in and out through your nose or your mouth. Notice how your breath is flowing. There's no need to change it, but simply notice. Maybe you notice the gentle rise and fall of your belly, your chest. The widening of your rib cage with every inhale. And the softening of your front body with every exhale. Last few moments here. And know that at any point today, if things get too wobbly or shaky, too fiery or intense, if you're able to draw your focus back to your breath, it can help calm the wobbles and shakes and help dispel the fire and intensity. Start to bring a little bit of movement back to your body. Whatever way feels best to wake up. Could be a big yawn or a little wiggle of the head from side to side, or wiggle of the fingertips or toes. And then when you feel ready, draw your knees into your chest and take a little rock from side to side here. Draw your knees a little bit closer toward you, as close as feels comfortable, and keep the rocking going from side to side. And then start to straighten your arms. Take them as straight as you can, or as feels good, with one hand on each knee, and then keep the rocking going. So massaging out the pelvis now. And then pause back in center. Interlace your hands over top of the right leg and reach the left leg toward the earth. This might be a bit intense for you today, in which case you're more than welcome to bend the left knee. Otherwise, reach the left heel away from you. Couple breaths here. Maybe you squeeze that right shin in toward you a little bit more. And some of you might choose to gently curl your nose toward your knee. And then slowly lower back down. And then switch sides. So interlace the hands over top of the left shin now. The right leg could be bent with the sole of the foot on the floor, or extended with the heel reaching away from you. Start to draw that left leg in toward you a little bit more here. Again, maybe this feels good. Maybe you gently curl your nose in the direction of the knee, taking the tension out of the neck and shoulders as you do so. And then release back to the floor. And then start to reach both legs up to the sky. Shake them up. Keep shaking, shaking, shaking. It might be simple, it might be subtle, it might be really wild and crazy. Anything that feels good. Maybe add your arms too. All right, pause back in the middle. It might feel awesome to rock and roll up and down your spine here. If you'd like to, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, roll to one side, press yourself up, and let's meet on hands and knees. So eventually sitting up with your knees underneath your hips, toes tucked or untucked, and hands nice and wide, outer shoulder width apart or wider. On your inhale, lift the tailbone. Hollow through the lower back, broaden through your collarbones. Exhale, round through your spine. Press the floor away from you. Inhale into cow. Exhale, round into cat. A few more of these undulations on your own time, on your own breath. And you can pause at any point or add some extra movement. Really start to tune into what your body needs here. Maybe it's just simple cat and cow. Maybe it's getting into completely different movement altogether. And then slowly come back to center. Some of you might choose to stay here on hands and knees if that's going to work better for your body today. Otherwise, hands nice and wide, fingers spread wide, tuck your toes. Exhale, lift your hips up and back, downward facing dog. Bend your knees a lot here. And you might pedal one heel toward the floor and then the other. You could wag your tail from side to side. Getting into the side body here. Maybe it feels better for you to be still here. In which case, feel free to be still. Last couple breaths. And now bend your knees, look forward. Exhale, walk, step, or hop to the top edge of your mat, coming into your standing forward fold. You might choose to rest your elbows on your knees or thighs for a little bit more support today. Maybe you want more traction through your spine. Clasp opposite elbows with hands. You could sway a little bit from side to side. You could be still. Maybe you bring a block or blocks underneath your hands for a bit more support. And then notice what your knees are doing. If we're not thinking about it, they tend to cave in, they tend to knock. Can you slowly, gently start to track them out toward the baby toe edges of the feet? Just a little bit more. You'll feel your glutes firing up as you do this, or the outer hip anyway. Last couple breaths here. And then release your hands with fingertips to your shins or the earth or blocks. Inhale, little partway lift, belly button to spine. Exhale, let it all go. Couple more. And then head heavy, arms heavy, knees bent slowly. Start to roll up to standing. As slowly as you can. Knees bent the entire time until eventually you come all the way up to standing. Couple loops of your shoulders, up, back, and down. Little wiggle, noodle, or release. Find about hip width apart between your feet, unless you prefer practicing with the feet touching. Hug the legs toward each other, tailbone together slightly, belly button to spine, shoulder blades on your back. On your inhale, sweep your arms up to the sky. Maybe follow with your gaze. Exhale, melt to the earth. Forward fold. Fingertips to shins. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, fold. Charge your legs. Inhale, sweep all the way up to the sky. And exhale, hands to prayer. Same thing. Inhale to the sky. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, sweep all the way up to the sky. Exhale, hands to prayer. One last time. Inhale up. Exhale, melt to the earth. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, sweep all the way up to the sky. Exhale, hands to prayer. Couple breaths here. Eyes open or closed, palms in prayer, or hands by your side. And then flicker your eyelids open. Inhale, sweep up to the sky. Exhale, melt to the earth. Fingertips to shins. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, fold. On your inhale, step your right leg back. Gently release your back knee to the floor or to a chip foam block, any sort of padding you might have. Of course, my blocks aren't in the right place. If you have blocks, you might want to bring them underneath your hands, or inhale, come all the way up for your low lunge. Back out of the hips, shake it out, go off alignment, release whatever you need to release. And we're going to have a lot of opportunities to get into sort of a fuller yoga version of a lunge today. So start with me in the more active variation, just so we can really release those hip flexors. Even here today, I feel my hip flexors on that right leg. So hug the legs toward each other, squeeze the bum, belly button to spine, nice tall posture, maintaining all that. Shift into the front knee. All right, really squeeze the bum on the back leg. Back toes can be tucked or untucked. If you're going a bit deeper, by all means, feel free to bring hands down, or maybe you reach the arms up to the sky. You could also just gently rest the palms on that front thigh. Maybe press them forward slightly to send your upper body back. And I really want you to squeeze the bum. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze on that back leg. Last couple breaths here. All right, back out of the hips a little bit. Shake it out. And then bring your right hand to the floor in line with that left heel. Now you might have your hand up on a block. That's going to give you a little bit more space here, a little bit more scope for a twist. And then maybe you just bring your left hand to the thigh, or maybe you inhale that left arm up to the sky. Now, you could be on fingertips, you could be on a block, you could be on your fist. Wrap both shoulders onto your back though, particularly that bottom one. You don't want it to jut forward. You might be still, you might take big sweeping shapes here. So, a lunge, A little bit more focus on the twist now. Squeeze the bum on that back leg. And then on your inhale, slowly back out of it. Shake it out a little bit. We're going to do one more here with that left leg forward. Sink into the hips slightly. Bring your left hand or elbow to that left knee. And you can use your elbow to send that left knee out. And then we're going to open to the right this time. Now that back shin could spin in a little bit. Gives your hips a little bit more space here. Some of you might stay up high. Some of you might bring a hand to the floor, or maybe a hand to a block inside that front knee. That can feel like a really nice supported position. But make sure that bottom shoulder is not jutting forward. Wrap it onto your back. So different sort of release now through the hips, right? More into the groin on that front leg. Okay, slowly, gently unwind. Plant your hands, step back to downward facing dog. Pedal the heels a little bit if you wish. If down dog doesn't work, by all means, come to hands and knees instead. And then bend your knees, look forward. Exhale, walk, step, or hop to the top edge of your mat. Fingertips to shins, inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, fold. All right, on your inhale, step your left leg back. Release your back knee to the floor or chip bone block, any sort of padding you might be using. And on your inhale, come on up. Again, get back out of the hips, shake it out a little bit, right? Go totally off alignment so that you're releasing those tensions before we get into the pose. Hug the legs toward each other, squeeze the bum, belly bend to spine, shoulder blades on your back. Now shift into that front knee. Back toes could be tucked or untucked. For me, it dramatically changes the sensation of the stretch here. Some people swear by one variation, some people swear by the other. Some people just swear. So go where you need to go. Right, again, any variation of your choice here. If you're joining me with your palms on the front thigh, gently press them forward to send the torso back, getting even more extension at the hip on that back leg. Last 2 breaths here. Okay, back out of the hips a little bit, shake it out, and then bring your left hand to the floor, more or less in line with that front heel. It could be out nice and wide. You might be on the floor, you might be on a block. And then shift the hips forward a little bit here as you inhale the top arm up to the sky. Now wrap both shoulders onto your back, particularly that bottom one. Maybe you're still, maybe you sweep that top arm through some windmills. But keep a nice squeeze of the bum on the back leg. Last couple breaths here. And then slowly inhale, return to center. This time starting with your right elbow on your knee or your thigh. Shift the hips forward and then open to the left. Again, that back shin might spin in a little bit just to give yourself a little bit more space. Maybe you're here, maybe hand to the floor. Maybe you bring a block to the inside of that shin or calf. And you can use your right hand or arm rather to push the right knee out to the right. All right, so the opposite twist. Last couple breaths here. All right, slowly, gently unwind. And then come back to hands and knees this time. Little wiggle or shake or cat and cow. Take your knees wide And then shift your hips back toward your heels for child's pose. Your hips might be right up in the air, and that's fine. You can always bring a pillow between your heels and your bum. Maybe you bring a block or a cushion underneath your torso to bring the floor up to you. Maybe the forehead naturally just reaches the floor. You could stack your palms underneath your forehead. Just a few breaths here, releasing into the hips. And then slowly inhale, come on back up, either hands and knees or downward facing dog. All right, on your inhale, lift your right leg high, three-legged dog or three-legged tabletop. Exhale, step your right foot to your right thumb. And back knee stays lifted this time, unless it's better for you to bring the knee down, that's fine. And then inhale, come up for high lunge, back out of the hips. God, my books are falling off the bookshelf. Bend both knees to start with. Wrap the back hip forward, draw the front hip back, not so much that you end up twisting to the right, but just so that your hip bones are more or less pointing forward. From here, sink into that front knee and supercharge the back leg towards straight. If that works for you, if you start to feel that into the low back, then keep a little micro bend on that back knee. That's fine. If you're going with me with a straight leg, squeeze the bum, squeeze the top of the thigh, maybe even squeeze the calf muscles. And then inhale, the arms up to the sky. Couple breaths here. Then bring the arms forward. Inhale here. Exhale, twist open. And then inhale back to center. Exhale, twist the opposite way. See how this changes the sensation on the hips when we open twist or when we close twist. Last one each side. And then slowly come back to center. Shake it out a little bit. Bring the back knee down again. Onto a chip foam block if you want a little bit more padding. And then heel into the front foot out wide and on an angle. Inhale here. As you exhale, shift into that front knee. Okay, so this is still a lunge, right? It's a little bit off center, but it's different. It's still a lunge. Right, front knee bent. Maybe you stay up high. Maybe you bring your hands to the floor inside that front foot. Make sure your front ankle is stacked more or less underneath the knee. You don't want it too far forward or too far behind the knee. And then back out of the hips a little bit. And then heel into that front foot across center, over to the left. And then sink into that front knee. Okay, so different again. You could spin that back shin in slightly if you wish, or keep it more as a curtsy variation. Whew. Bit weird, but you know, we're playing around with it. Back out of the hips, heel into the front foot, back into neutral, fold forward, plant your hands, step back, tabletop or downward facing dog. All right, on your inhale, lift the left leg high. Exhale, step left foot to left thumb. Back knee stays up. And then inhale, come up for high lunge. So if it's super wobbly, take a wider stance between the feet so that you're not on a tightrope. Right? It also gives your pelvis a little bit more space. Start with both knees bent. Wrap the right hip forward. Draw the left hip back. Squeeze the bum on the back leg. You're getting that nice hip flexor release again in that back leg. Maybe you stay here. Maybe you start to supercharge that back leg towards straight. Squeeze the bum, squeeze the top of the thigh as you sink into that front knee. Again, if you feel that tweaking the low back, then keep a little micro bend on that back leg. That's fine. Maybe you inhale the arms up. And then bring them forward, shoulder height. Inhale here. Exhale, open twist to the right. And then back to center. And exhale to the left. Right. And center. And left. Once more, each side. Okay. Bend the back knee. Bring it down to the floor. And then back out of the hips. Heel into that front foot out wider. Could be out on an angle. And then sink into that front knee. So a little bit of a wider lunge here. Maybe you stay up high. Maybe you come down to your hands. Just make sure that you're not hanging out here in the pelvis. So there's still that hug of the legs back to the center line. This will really help protect your hips, or particularly the ligaments of the pelvis and the pelvic floor. One more inhale. One sweet exhale. Okay, back out of the hips a little bit, or actually a lot. So you come all the way up and then heel into the front foot or cross. Now this one gets a little weird, a little wobbly. Maybe bring it all the way to the right. The toes could be pointing to the right. They could be pointing forward. Sort of just depends on what feels best. Sink into the hips a little bit. Back shin can go wherever it needs to go so that you can feel at least a little bit of ease or stability here. It's wobbly, right? Because we've brought ourselves into sort of a tightrope balance. Okay, slowly heel and toe back to center. Bring your hands down and come back to hands and knees now. Little wiggle or shake or cat and cow. And let's end with a bit of a release. So come on down to your back, hug your knees into your chest, take a little rock from side to side. There are so many more lunges that I could have done. Maybe I'll do a part 2 to this class sometime. Maybe take your right arm out to the side, shift your hips right a little bit to start with, and then exhale, lower the knees to the left. Take these few moments to allow the breath to settle, to allow the heart rate to settle. And then inhale, return to center. Reset your pelvis and spine. Maybe take the left or the hips out to the left a little bit. As you exhale, lower the knees to the right. And then slowly return to center. If there's anything else you feel like you need before your rest, please feel free to take it. Maybe happy baby or some sort of spinal flexion or extension. If you're ready for your rest, then make your way into your final resting pose. You could be flat on your back, legs bent or straight in Shavasana. You could rest on your side or child's pose or a seated meditation. And there's no rush to get there. But once you've found your pose of rest, for 3 breaths, inhale through your nose. Exhale, sigh your breath away. Couple more. And then let go of your breath control. Return to your natural breath. Let go of any last muscle gripping or tension. Could be in your face or your jaw. With each exhale, let your body melt a little bit deeper into the earth. And take a moment to thank yourself for coming here today, for giving yourself this time to play and to breathe, for your wonderful body, for playing and breathing for you. Stay here longer if you can, 5 or 10 minutes. Thank you so much for joining me today. Namaste.